What if the very blueprint of humanity was engineered? What if ancient texts, dismissed as myth, hold the key to our genetic origins? Today we delve into Sumerian artifacts so advanced, so impossible, they force us to confront a terrifying truth. Our DNA might not be our own. Prepare to question everything you thought you knew about creation. Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers Tigris and Euphrates, is often hailed as the cradle of civilization. It was here, over 6,000 years ago, that the Sumerians emerged, seemingly from nowhere, with an astonishingly sophisticated culture. They developed the first writing system, cuneiform, complex mathematics, advanced astronomy, intricate legal codes, and monumental architecture like the Ziggurats. Mainstream history attributes this rapid advancement to a sudden burst of human ingenuity. But what if the story is far more complex, far more alien? Sumerian texts, translated from thousands of clay tablets, speak not of evolution, but of Anunnaki, powerful beings who descended from the heavens. These texts describe them as those who from heaven to earth came, and detail their involvement in the creation of humanity. For centuries, these accounts have been relegated to the realm of mythology. However, a closer look at certain Sumerian artifacts, combined with modern scientific understanding, suggests these ancient narratives might be more literal than we ever dared to imagine. These are not mere relics. They are pieces of a puzzle that, when assembled, paint a picture of genetic manipulation, advanced technology, and a history of human origins that defies every textbook. Today we will explore 8 such Sumerian artifacts, from cylinder seals depicting microscopic details to king lists hinting at biological immortality, from mysterious handbags that resemble power units to tablets describing ancient software. Each object, when viewed through the lens of forbidden knowledge, challenges the very foundation of our understanding of human evolution and the dawn of civilization. Were the Sumerians simply brilliant inventors, or were they the beneficiaries, or perhaps even the subjects of an advanced extraterrestrial intervention? Prepare to have your genetic code questioned, because the truth, etched in clay and stone, is far stranger than fiction. 1. The Enigma Cylinder Seals, Microengineering in the Ancient World. Among the most fascinating and perplexing artifacts from ancient Sumer are the cylinder seals. These small, intricately carved stone cylinders, typically 2 to 3 centimeters in height, were rolled onto wet clay to create a continuous raised impression. They served as signatures, property markers, and narrative devices. While many depict scenes of daily life, gods, and mythological creatures, a select few contain details so minute, so precise, that they challenge the very notion of ancient craftsmanship. Consider the level of detail required to carve these seals. The images are often incredibly complex, featuring multiple figures, intricate patterns, and even cuneiform script, all in reverse, on a curved surface. To achieve this, the Sumerian artisans would have needed not only exceptional skill, but also tools capable of working at a microscopic level. Modern gem cutters often use magnifying lenses and diamond-tipped drills to create similar intricate designs. What tools did the Sumerians possess that allowed them to achieve such precision? The conventional explanation points to simple flint tools and immense patience, but this struggles to account for the consistent uniformity and depth of the cuts, especially on hard stones like lapis lazuli and hematite. Some researchers, like Zechariah Sitchin, have pointed to specific seals that depict astronomical phenomena, such as the solar system with all its planets, including Uranus and Neptune, which were only discovered by modern telescopes in the last few centuries. Other seals show what appear to be genetic structures, double helix patterns, or even figures engaged in what looks like laboratory work. If these interpretations are correct, it implies a knowledge of astronomy and biology that was thousands of years ahead of its time. The Enigma cylinder seals are not just ancient art. They are miniature technological marvels, suggesting a lost understanding of microengineering and scientific observation that completely rewrites our perception of Sumerian capabilities. Were these carvings merely artistic representations, or were they literal depictions of advanced knowledge, perhaps even instructions, passed down from the Anunnaki, hinting at a genetic blueprint for humanity? 2. The Sumerian King List, the enigma of biological immortality. Among the most controversial and thought-provoking Sumerian texts is the Sumerian King List. This ancient clay tablet, a seemingly mundane historical record, lists the kings of Sumer, their dynasties, and the lengths of their reigns. What makes this list extraordinary and deeply unsettling is the incredible longevity attributed to the early kings. Before the Great Flood, kings are recorded as reigning for tens of thousands of years. For example, Alulim ruled for 28,800 years and Alalgar for 36,000 years. After the flood, the reigns become shorter, but still incredibly long, often lasting for hundreds of years. Mainstream historians dismiss these extreme durations as mythological exaggerations, perhaps reflecting a different system of timekeeping or symbolic reigns. However, if we take these numbers literally, they present a profound challenge to our understanding of human biology and lifespan. How could ancient rulers live for such extended periods? This isn't just a few extra years. It's a lifespan that suggests a complete mastery over the aging process, a form of biological immortality. Could these texts be hinting at a lost technology or genetic manipulation that allowed for vastly extended lifespans? The Sumerian texts, particularly those describing the Anunnaki, often portray these beings as having lifespans far exceeding that of ordinary humans. If the Anunnaki were indeed involved in the creation or modification of early humans, as some interpretations suggest, could they have initially endowed their creations with a longer lifespan, which was later reduced? The King List explicitly states that after the flood, the gods decreed shorter reigns for mankind. This implies a deliberate alteration, a genetic adjustment. The Sumerian King List, therefore, is not just a dry historical document. It is a tantalizing clue, a whispered suggestion of a time when human biology was perhaps different, perhaps engineered, and perhaps capable of achieving what we now consider impossible: biological immortality. It forces us to ask, were these early kings truly human, or were they hybrids? Or perhaps even the Anunnaki themselves, whose genetic makeup allowed for such extended existence? The King List stands as a silent, ancient record, challenging us to reconsider the true limits of human lifespan and the possibility of a forgotten genetic heritage. 3. The Handbag of the Gods, mobile power units of the Anunnaki. One of the most iconic and enigmatic symbols found in ancient Mesopotamian art, particularly in Sumerian and Assyrian reliefs, is the so-called Handbag of the Gods. This recurring motif depicts various deities, kings, or mythical figures, most notably the Anunnaki, holding a small bucket-like object in one hand and a pine cone-like object in the other. Mainstream archaeology often dismisses these as ritualistic items, perhaps a bucket for holy water and a pine cone for purification. However, a closer examination, especially through a technological lens, reveals a far more intriguing possibility. The handbag itself is always depicted with a handle and a distinct, often textured outer casing. It maintains a consistent shape and size across thousands of years of artistic representation. If we consider the possibility of advanced technology, this object bears a striking resemblance to a portable power unit or a mobile energy source. Imagine a device that could store and transmit energy, perhaps for powering tools or other advanced instruments. The pine cone, often held in conjunction with the handbag, could then be interpreted as a tool for manipulating or directing that energy, perhaps a scanner, a genetic sampler, or even a sonic device. Consider the implications. If these were indeed technological devices, it would suggest that the Anunnaki possessed portable energy solutions, far beyond anything known in the ancient world. The consistent depiction across various cultures and time periods, always in the hands of powerful, often winged figures, lends credence to the idea that these were not mere symbolic items, but functional instruments of a superior civilization. Why would a simple bucket and pine cone be so consistently depicted with such reverence and precision in the hands of beings described as gods? Some theories propose that these handbags were used in conjunction with the creation of humanity, perhaps as part of a genetic engineering process. If the Anunnaki were indeed manipulating DNA, as suggested by the Sumerian texts, a portable power source and a specialized tool would be essential. The handbag of the gods, therefore, transcends mere artistic representation. It becomes a tantalizing piece of evidence, hinting at a lost technology, a mobile power source, and a genetic toolkit that could fundamentally alter our understanding of ancient history and the origins of human life on Earth. 4. The K8538 planisphere, an astronomical computer beyond its time. Among the many clay tablets unearthed from the ruins of ancient Nineveh, one stands out as particularly enigmatic: the K8538 planisphere. Discovered in the mid-19th century by Austin Henry Layard, this small circular clay tablet, dating back to around 700 BCE, was initially dismissed as a simple astrological chart. However, modern analysis, particularly by researchers like Alan Bond and Mark Hempsel, has revealed something far more profound. It is an incredibly sophisticated astronomical computer, a star map, and a record of a celestial event that predates any known human observation. What makes the K8538 planisphere so extraordinary is its depiction of the night sky from a perspective that suggests advanced astronomical knowledge. It not only maps constellations, but also includes complex calculations for planetary movements, and even a detailed record of a large object impacting Earth. The most startling interpretation is that it records the trajectory of an asteroid or comet that impacted Earth around 3100 BCE, an event that could be linked to the Great Flood narratives found in many ancient cultures, including the Sumerian Epic of Gilgamesh. The precision of the astronomical data encoded in the planisphere is astounding. It uses a sophisticated form of trigonometry and spherical geometry that was supposedly not developed until much later by the Greeks. The tablet accurately depicts the positions of stars and planets from a specific vantage point in time, suggesting the use of advanced observational instruments or computational methods. How could the Sumerians or their predecessors possess such a deep understanding of celestial mechanics and the ability to track and predict cosmic events with such accuracy? The K8538 planisphere challenges the notion that ancient civilizations had only a rudimentary understanding of astronomy. It suggests a lost science, a sophisticated astronomical computer that could track celestial bodies and even record catastrophic events thousands of years before modern science. Was this knowledge developed independently, or was it imparted by the Anunnaki, who were often associated with the heavens? The planisphere stands as a silent, coded message from the past, hinting at a forgotten era when humanity or its celestial mentors possessed a profound understanding of the cosmos and its potential impact on Earth. 5. The Tablets of Destiny. The Me, ancient software for civilization. Central to Sumerian mythology and governance are the Me, pronounced Meh, often translated as divine decrees or fundamental principles. These Me were not abstract concepts, but were believed to be tangible objects, often referred to as the Tablets of Destiny. According to Sumerian texts, these tablets contain the divine blueprint for civilization itself, the laws, institutions, arts, crafts, and even the very essence of what it meant to be Sumerian. They were guarded by the gods, particularly Enlil, and later stolen by the god Enki, who then distributed them to humanity. If we interpret these Me through a technological lens, they begin to resemble a form of ancient software or programming code. Imagine a comprehensive operating system for an entire civilization, detailing everything from agricultural practices and legal systems to religious rituals and social hierarchies. The Tablets of Destiny, therefore, could be seen as data storage devices containing vast amounts of information and instructions necessary for the functioning and advancement of a complex society. The idea that such fundamental knowledge was not organically developed but rather downloaded or installed into the Sumerian culture is a radical departure from conventional history. Consider the rapid and sophisticated emergence of Sumerian civilization. They seem to possess an innate understanding of complex systems almost immediately. Could this be attributed to the Me, a pre-packaged set of instructions or knowledge transferred from a more advanced source? The text described the Me as being worn or carried by the gods, suggesting a portable, perhaps even wearable technology. The concept of a civilization's entire knowledge base being contained within a set of tablets that could be transferred or even stolen hints at a technological paradigm far beyond simple clay tablets. The tablets of destiny, or the Me, challenge the notion of gradual cultural evolution. They suggest that the Sumerians received a comprehensive upload of civilization's operating system, enabling their rapid and unprecedented development. This raises profound questions about the nature of knowledge transfer, the role of advanced beings in human development, and whether our earliest civilizations were not merely inventing, but rather implementing a pre-existing, divine software package for humanity. 6. The Anunnaki wristwatches. Communication technology of the gods. Across numerous Sumerian and Assyrian depictions, particularly on cylinder seals and relief carvings, figures identified as Anunnaki or deities are often shown wearing what appear to be wrist devices. These objects are consistently depicted on the wrist, often with intricate patterns or symbols, and sometimes with what looks like a small screen or interface. While mainstream archaeology typically interprets these as decorative bracelets or symbolic adornments, a technological interpretation suggests something far more advanced: communication devices. Consider the context. The Anunnaki are described as beings who traveled from the heavens, possessing superior knowledge and technology. It is logical to assume they would have advanced means of communication. These wristwatches are always present, regardless of the activity depicted, suggesting they were essential tools. The consistent design across different artistic representations, spanning centuries, points to a standardized piece of equipment rather than a mere fashion accessory. If these were indeed communication devices, what kind of technology would they represent? Perhaps a form of two-way radio, a holographic projector, or even a device for accessing a vast network of information. The intricate details sometimes visible on these watches could be buttons, indicators, or even a miniature display. The idea that ancient beings possessed personal communication devices challenges our understanding of technological development, pushing it back thousands of years. Furthermore, if the Anunnaki were involved in guiding or genetically modifying early humans, such devices would be crucial for coordination and instruction. They could have been used to monitor progress, transmit data, or even issue commands. The Anunnaki wristwatches are not just curious artistic details, they are tantalizing clues, suggesting a lost technology of personal communication and information, access that would be revolutionary even by today's standards. They force us to ask, were these devices merely symbols of divine authority, or were they functional pieces of alien technology, hinting at a time when the gods communicated not through thunder, but through advanced wrist-mounted gadgets? 7. The Great Ziggurat of Ur, a resonant transmitter to the heavens. The Great Ziggurat of Ur, a massive step pyramid located in modern-day Iraq, is one of the most iconic structures of ancient Sumer. Built around the 21st century BCE, it was dedicated to Nana, the moon god. Mainstream archaeology views ziggurats as monumental temples, platforms to bring the priests closer to the heavens for worship. However, a deeper look at their construction and the Sumerian narratives suggests a far more complex and technological purpose, that of a resonant transmitter or a communication device with the cosmos. Ziggurats were built with a solid core of mud brick, faced with baked bricks, and often contained intricate drainage systems. Their step design, culminating in a temple at the summit, was not merely aesthetic. The sheer volume of material and the precision of their construction imply a purpose beyond simple worship. The Sumerian texts often describe the ziggurat as a waiting room for the gods, a place where the Anunnaki would descend to interact with humanity. If the Anunnaki were indeed extraterrestrial visitors, a dedicated landing platform or a communication beacon would be a logical necessity. Consider the materials used: mud brick and baked brick. While seemingly primitive, these materials, when combined with specific geometries and potentially certain minerals, could have unique electromagnetic properties. Some alternative theories propose that the ziggurats, with their massive stone foundations and layered construction, could have acted as gigantic piezoelectric generators or resonant cavities, capable of generating or transmitting energy. The constant vibrations of the Earth, combined with specific frequencies, could theoretically be amplified and directed. Furthermore, the orientation of many ziggurats is astronomically precise, aligning with celestial bodies and events. This suggests a deep understanding of cosmic energies and their potential manipulation. Was the Great Ziggurat of Ur merely a temple, or was it a sophisticated piece of ancient technology designed to facilitate communication with the Anunnaki, perhaps even acting as a beacon or a power source for their celestial craft? The idea that these monumental structures were not just places of worship, but functional devices for interspecies communication or energy transmission, completely rewrites our understanding of ancient architecture and the true purpose of these towering monuments. 8. The Abzu, Enki's subterranean laboratory and the genesis of humanity. In Sumerian mythology, the Abzu, or Apsu, is described as a primordial, subterranean ocean of fresh water, a deep abyss beneath the earth. It was considered the dwelling place of Enki, the Sumerian god of wisdom, crafts, water, and creation. While often interpreted metaphorically, a technological reading of the Abzu suggests something far more concrete: a subterranean laboratory or a highly advanced genetic engineering facility. Enki is consistently portrayed as the god responsible for the creation of humanity. The Sumerian creation myths, particularly the Enuma Elish, describe how Enki, with the help of the goddess Ninhursag, mixed the clay of the Abzu with the blood of a slain god, or Anunnaki, to fashion the first humans. This narrative, when stripped of its mythological veneer, bears a striking resemblance to a genetic engineering experiment. The clay of the Abzu could be interpreted as raw genetic material, perhaps even primordial stem cells, while the blood of a god represents the advanced DNA of the Anunnaki. Enki's domain, the Abzu, is consistently associated with deep knowledge, secret crafts, and the very essence of life. It is depicted as a place of immense power and technological sophistication, where the Anunnaki performed their most sensitive operations. If humanity was indeed genetically engineered, then a secure, controlled, subterranean environment would be the ideal location for such a laboratory. The myths describe Enki as a master geneticist, capable of creating various forms of life, and even modifying existing ones. The Abzu, therefore, is not just a mythical underworld. It is a powerful symbol of a lost, advanced technology, a subterranean genetic laboratory, where the very blueprint of humanity was forged. It forces us to confront the possibility that our origins are not purely natural, but the result of a deliberate, scientific intervention by an advanced civilization. The Sumerian texts, far from being simple fables, could be literal accounts of our genetic genesis, hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to develop the scientific understanding to finally comprehend their true meaning. The final analysis: the genetic code of a lost past. When we examine these 8 extraordinary Sumerian artifacts, the Enigma cylinder seals, the Sumerian King List, the Handbag of the Gods, the K8538 planisphere, the Tablets of Destiny, the Anunnaki wristwatches, the Great Ziggurat of Ur, and the Abzu, a pattern emerges that is impossible to ignore. These are not isolated curiosities. They are pieces of a much larger, coherent puzzle that, when assembled, paints a picture of a past radically different from the one we are taught. The comfortable narrative of gradual human evolution, from primitive to advanced, begins to crumble under the weight of these ancient truths. Each artifact, in its own unique way, presents an insurmountable challenge to conventional archaeology and history. The microengineering of the cylinder seals, the impossible lifespans of the King List, the portable power of the Handbag, the astronomical precision of the planisphere, the ancient software of the Me, the communication tech of the wristwatches, the resonant power of the Ziggurat, and the genetic laboratory of the Abzu, all point to a level of engineering, scientific knowledge, and technological sophistication that simply should not have existed thousands of years ago. Mainstream explanations often rely on symbolic interpretations, mythological exaggerations, or simply dismiss these anomalies as inexplicable. But these explanations fail to account for the consistent precision, the advanced scientific concepts, and the recurring themes of celestial beings, genetic manipulation, and advanced technology embedded within the Sumerian record. It is not enough to say they just imagined it. The evidence suggests a lost knowledge, a forgotten technology, or perhaps even the direct intervention of an advanced extraterrestrial civilization whose echoes are preserved in these ancient artifacts. Who were these Anunnaki? How did they possess such advanced knowledge? Were they literal beings who descended from the heavens, as the Sumerian texts claim? Were they the architects of our genetic code, manipulating early hominids to create Homo sapiens as a labor force, as some interpretations suggest? The implications are profound. A hidden history of genetic engineering, a secret past where humanity was not merely a product of natural evolution, but a deliberate creation, and a challenge to our very understanding of our origins and place in the cosmos. These artifacts are not just relics, they are encrypted messages from a forgotten era. They are a testament to a past that refuses to stay buried, whispering tales of lost wisdom and technological prowess. Until we are brave enough to confront these truths, until we dare to challenge the dogmas of academia, we will continue to walk in the shadows of a past we are too afraid to remember, forever bound by the amnesia of our species. The truth is out there, etched in clay and stone, waiting to shatter our illusions. The question is, are we ready to face it? Are we ready to accept that our ancestors were not as primitive as we have been led to believe? Are we ready to acknowledge that advanced civilizations may have risen and fallen, leaving behind only these tantalizing clues? The journey to uncover these truths is not just an academic exercise. It is a journey into the very heart of what it means to be human, to understand our true potential, and to reclaim a legacy that has been denied to us for far too long. Until next time, keep searching for the truth, especially when they tell you it doesn't exist.